So today I'm going to go through some MCU Marvel Legends that I think are underrated. So first I have Wong from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And this one's really cool. Looks just like Wong, and Wong's a pretty cool character in the MCU and a pretty big part of the MCU, and I just like how he has the shield effects for his hands and everything, so it's really a pretty cool figure. I don't really know why some people don't really like him that much. I know he's sort of more of like a second tier character, but I think it's a pretty cool figure and I like the character, so I think he is sort of underrated. Next, I have Mobius from the Loki series. He was a Target exclusive, and this one, the main reason I think he's underrated is mainly the accessories he comes with, because he has a TemPad and the pruner, which are unique and all new accessories. So I think that's pretty cool, even though it's sort of basically just a civilian figure and sort of the dark brown and stuff sort of bland. But it is pretty cool, and it's just cool to have like an action figure of Owen Wilson. But I mainly like that he has like the little TemPad and the pruner, which is pretty cool. So I think he's slightly underrated for that. Next, I have the Professor X from that 2-pack. And I like this one a lot because it has the multiple heads, so you can have like the young version or the older version. And I really like Professor X in the Fox movies, which I know technically he's not really MCU, but he sort of is. I guess now that he was in Multiverse of Madness, it sort of makes that figure MCU canon, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I think he's slightly underrated. And then ShangChi from the ShangChi movie. I think he is pretty underrated, honestly. I really liked the Shang-Chi movie, and the figure looks really good. The face looks just like him. He has a couple sets of hands, and he just comes with that stick. I think it's called like a bow staff or something. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I think he's a pretty cool figure. He's not the coolest like action figure, but I think he looks pretty cool. Has a lot of cool details and stuff on him, so I think he's underrated. Next, I have Shuri. Shuri's Black Panther. I think that's a pretty cool figure. I do wish it would have came with like an unmasked head. Would have been pretty cool for that one. But I do think it's a pretty cool looking figure. So I think that one's slightly underrated. The Wasp from Ant-Man and the Wasp. I know a lot of people don't really care for like the gold color, and they like the newer one from Quantumania with sort of the brighter yellow. But I actually like the gold color and stuff. I think it looks pretty cool. And I like the helmet on this one. It's pretty cool with the all shiny silver. And you can see the eyes through the lenses and stuff there, which is pretty cool. So I really don't have that much of a problem with this figure. The unmasked head isn't quite as good as the Quantum Mania one, but I usually have the helmeted head on there, so it's not a big deal for me. And a lot of these figures I don't necessarily think are like top-notch figures, but I think they should be, they're underrated. So they're a little better than people give them credit for. This next one is the Rescue Armor Pepper Potts figure from the Amazon 2-pack. This is the one that came with the in-game Captain Marvel. And I like this one a lot because it comes with 3 different heads and a couple different sets of hands and different attachments for like her whatever that pack deal is that she has on her back. So that's pretty cool. And I definitely like the Pepper Potts head sculpt, which is nice on there. So I think that one's underrated. Even though this suit for Pepper Potts, the rescue armor, was only at the end game. So it wasn't like a huge character or suit that was in the MCU. So I think that might be why people rate it a little lower. But I think it's a really cool figure still. Next, I have the Corg from that 2-pack. And I like Corg. Korg's a pretty cool character. He's funny. I think the figure's pretty cool. He has a lot of that sculpted detail for like the rock and stuff. The color of the rock's slightly off, but I think it's a pretty cool figure though. And he's really selling for pretty cheap. So I think he's a pretty solid figure. And definitely underrated. Next, I have the Peter B. Parker figure from Into the Spider-Verse. This is the one with the jacket and comes with the little cup and stuff. I think this one's pretty cool, honestly. having that jacket and everything's on there. The head sculpt looks nice. So I really like that figure quite a bit, honestly. I did have a little bit of trouble with like the feet and stuff. The ankles are real loose and stuff. And he was one of my favorite characters in Into the Spider-Verse. So I really like that figure quite a bit and think it's definitely underrated. Once again, I know it's not part of the MCU technically, but I thought I'd include him in it. And next, I have the Red Guardian from that 2-pack from Black Widow. And this one's pretty cool because it has the 2 different head sculpts, and those head sculpts are actually really pretty cool. And I liked Red Guardian and Black Widow. He is probably one of my favorite characters. He was just funny, sort of the comic relief. I really liked his character in it, so I think he's definitely underrated. Next, I have Everett Ross, and this is the one from Wakanda Forever. Well, sort of. It was part of like the Legacy collection. Everett Ross isn't really one of my favorite characters, but I like this one because of the head sculpt is so good on it. That's the main reason this one I feel like is a little bit underrated, but it's still not like the greatest figure ever. Next, I have Hawkeye from the Disney Plus series. This one I like a lot because it's really the only Hawkeye figure that has like a good Jeremy Renner head sculpt. We have the Ronin figure and stuff, but far as an actual Hawkeye figure, this is the only one that really has a good head sculpt on it. Even though I feel like the head might be slightly undersized, but it's still the best head sculpt for a Hawkeye figure. So I feel like that one's really underrated, considering it's probably the best Hawkeye figure that we have. Next, I have Valkyrie from Thor Love and Thunder. And this one, I think, is really underrated because the head sculpt on it is probably the best we've gotten for Valkyrie, and the overall look looks pretty cool. So I think that one's definitely underrated. Valkyrie is okay. She's not my favorite character, but she's an okay character. Next, I have the integrated suit Spider-Man from the No Way Home 3-pack. And this one, I think, is slightly underrated. I mean, it looks pretty good for what it is. It's not my favorite suit design, but this one has all the black lines and stuff, which is nice. And he has 3 sets of hands. I wish he would have came with an unmasked head, but you can always pop one on there if you decide to, from like the Peter Parker figure or whatever. But it's a pretty cool figure, even though it's not my favorite suit design, but it is pretty cool. So next I have Miss Marvel from the Disney Plus series, and this one I think is slightly underrated just because I really like that suit design of sort of the light blue, sort of like a light bluish color. I like the suit design on it. It's pretty cool. But the overall figure's not the greatest, and Miss Marvel's not my favorite character either, but I do think it's slightly underrated for what it is. Next, I have Quicksilver from the Infinity Saga line, and this one's pretty cool, and I really like how it comes with the little Ultron parts from the Ultron bots that are like torn apart, which is really cool. And the overall figure's pretty cool. The head sculpt's not the greatest, but I mean, it's not horrible. Next, I have the classic Loki from the Loki series, and this one I like a lot, even though that ab crunch in the middle looks sort of weird, and there's a little bit of like design flaws as far as how like the sort of hip area and legs come together. It looks sort of weird, but I really liked this character in the series, and I like that we have 2 different heads. Then we have like the magic effects for the hands and everything. So we have multiple hands and everything. So I really like that. And the head sculpts are really nice. But I do really think he's underrated as a character and as a figure. Then I have Okoye from Wakanda Forever. And this one I like a lot. Okoye is one of my favorite characters in the MCU. She's sort of like a B-level character, but I really like her. And I think this one's definitely an upgrade from the Build-A-Figure, and she's a lot easier to get a hold of and a lot cheaper, so I really like this one. The head sculpt on it is a lot better from the Build-A-Figure as well, so I really think that's a pretty underrated figure there. Next, I have the Teen Groot from Thor Love and Thunder. I think this one's really underrated as well, even though Teen Groot is probably my least favorite of the versions of Groot anyway, but I think this one's actually really good. It has a lot of good detail on it. The paint apps looks nice on it. We have sort of the like stretched out branches of his arms and stuff. Looks really cool. So I really think that one's pretty underrated. And then this one, I guess this next one is Captain America from the first 10 years 2-pack. That's the one that came with the Crossbones figure. And this one I think is slightly underrated. For me, I think he comes with the best shield that any MCU Captain America has come with. Has the best paint apps on it. The figure itself, I mean, is pretty good. It's probably the second best MCU Captain America, but the unmasked head is okay. It's not the greatest. Worthy Cap is definitely the best as far as the overall figure, but I think this one's definitely underrated for the quality that it has, and definitely that shield is really good with it. So I do think, and you can pick him up for probably like $20. So I mean, he's definitely underrated for the quality of that figure. Next, I have Ronin the Accuser from, this one is from the first 10 years as well. This is the villain that was from the first Guardians movie. And this one's actually a pretty cool figure. He comes with that staff that he has and everything, and the detail and everything on it is really cool. And I think he was a pretty cool villain, really. And you can pretty much buy him still for like what he was selling for originally, like $20 or $25, somewhere around there. So I think he's underrated. And next I have Ironheart from Wakanda Forever. This was a deluxe figure. I still don't care for the suit design a whole lot, but I do think it's pretty cool. And the figure itself had a lot of cool accessories with it, and it had the Riri Williams head sculpt and everything. It was pretty cool, which it was a deluxe figure, so you sort of expect it to come with quite a few accessories, but I do think it's sort of underrated as a figure. And next I have the No Way Home Doctor Strange figure, and this to me is my favorite overall Doctor Strange for the MCU. The hair isn't quite accurate to what he has in the movie, I don't think, but I liked how he has the shield effects, and they actually look pretty good, and just the overall look of the figure is pretty good. So I think that one's pretty underrated for how good of a figure it is. And I'm sure there's some other figures out there that are underrated, but those are sort of the main ones that I could think of. So let me know in the comments below what are some Marvel Legends figures that you think are underrated. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and have a great day.